Hello, hello. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is like, I swear, my fifth time trying to record this. And last time I recorded it, I thought that I finally got it. And then I went back to watch it, and my mic had died like 2 minutes in. And it was like a 25-minute recording. I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to do this again. Like, I finally thought that I got it good. Okay, but today, this video is a little bit different than what I've posted before, like the other two. This is my third video, so yeah. But I have this presentation that I made a hot second ago about one of my silly, goofy stories that lives rent free in my head. And so I'm going to be talking about it. It's called Project Zero. It probably had a reason to be called Project Zero. I don't remember though, because why would I? So we're just gonna jump right in. Part one is world building. So basically, everybody lives in like this city that's like surrounded in walls, kind of like an Attack on Titan. And then outside of the walls, there's these magical creatures, which actually used to be magical users, which I'll explain that later because that comes in later in the slide. And then outside of the walls are super duper thick forests because the creatures are extremely sensitive to light, and so that's where they like hide out, is these super dark, gloomy forests and swamps. Yeah, and then it only ever really gets cold in like the northern areas of the kingdom. That's like the only place that it gets super cold. Okay, and then there's the people, time, and culture. So it takes place in more or less modern day. I haven't really put too much thought into it. It might not be modern day because I feel like technology doesn't really show up at all in story. It might be take place in like the 90s or maybe in the 70s. I don't really know, but I don't know. Everybody kind of just acts normal, like they're part of our world. You don't really see a ton of magic, which I'll get into more of why later. And then all the criminals are banished outside of the walls. So there's two different types of magic groups. There's born with and learned. So born with magic, like obviously has to be passed down through genetics, and there's little to no risk of using these powers. They can't overtake you because they're a part of you. They might have super small side effects, but nothing life-threatening. Whereas learned magic is something that everybody can use, but it's like borrowing magic from like the earth or something. Um, but it's like you're borrowing the magic, so it's not yours. And if you use too much of it, it will like consume you and overpower you. It will actually like take over your entire body, and you'll end up transforming into one of the creatures that lives outside of the walls, and then end up dying because of it. Yeah. It's like a super slow and painful death, and there's no way to reverse it. Okay, and then another thing that you can do with the magic is you can infuse items with magic, but you have to have like the purpose in mind. So if you're like infusing shoes with magic and you're like, I want them to give me speed, like you have to have that intent in mind. And once you infuse it with magic, you cannot change it. So if you infuse them with speed, if they make you super fast, you can't then change your mind and be like, actually, I want to make me invisible. Like that's not gonna work. Okay, and then only another magic user can destroy magic items, which I feel like isn't really relevant unless somebody gets cursed with a magic infused item of like a necklace that makes you old and wrinkly that can never be taken off. You have to find another magic user and destroy it for you, unless you yourself are a magic user, and your magic has to be more powerful than the magic that the item was infused with. If that makes sense, who knows? Politics and government. Woo woo! Okay, so the society that they live in is a monarchy and a matriarchy. which means that there's just one ruler, like one main ruler, king, or in their case, a queen. And it's also a matriarchy, so therefore it's mostly women who are in power, hence why the Queen Lavina is like the highest form of power that there is. And Lavina was born into the position. It wasn't something that the people voted on or anything. It was just she was the daughter of the previous queen, and so therefore she's the queen. Another really, really big rule that the kingdom has is that only people from the royal family or the royal guard can use magic. They're authorized to use magic. There's like a couple of exceptions, but there's only like two or three probably. If you are caught using magic unauthorized, that is cause enough for them to banish you from the kingdom, which is not good. Okay, history and lore. There isn't really a ton. I haven't really thought about the history and the lore of like the world or like the kingdom of why they act the way that they act. But some queen was probably killed by a magic user or something. Who knows? I don't work here. Okay, part two, the characters. Also, just so you know, all of these characters are up on Artfight. I believe I'll be uploading this on the 1st of July, which is the first day of Artfight. So if you wanna go and follow my art fight and like maybe attack me. Um, that would be really cool. But yeah. Okay, my first character is Rena Marcelli. I'm gonna skip over their personality types. You can read that if you want. I don't want to read it though. Okay. Okay, so basically, she's 5'1". She is 19 years old, and some like little silly habits that she has is she has to force herself to breathe whenever she's in like a high stress situation of she genuinely just like panics, but she has to like force herself to breathe in order to calm down. But people don't notice this because she seems very calm. She also will scrunch her nose whenever she's disgusted. Usually in other people, of if she's like, what the heck is wrong with you? Like, you know, because she shows it on her face. Rena was actually raised to be an assassin, and then she left because she wanted to become a lawyer and she wanted to bring justice to the world. All that. She smells like cinnamon, and she has a ton of scars from being an assassin at such a young age. She's honestly very grumpy most of the time, and she doesn't really show any of her emotions because she wasn't allowed to growing up. Okay, this is Theon Morcelli. He's low-key kind of oldish. He's like somewhere in his 50s, probably, but no one knows exactly how old he is because he doesn't disclose that information. He's the adoptive father of Rena. He's very tall, he's 6'4", and he's the leader of the assassin guild that Rena was in. Some silly little habits he has is he grinds his teeth whenever he's mad, and he will click his tongue in disapproval of you. A lot, because he is a very disapproving person. He smells like cigarettes, and he has a very, very gruff voice because he's low-key a smoker. He low-key be smoking a cigarette every day, maybe multiple, who knows, I haven't decided. And then he has a scar on his face from when he assassinated Rena's mom. But no one actually knows that he assassinated Rena's mom, they just know that he showed up with some kid one day. Okay, this is Davian Swift. He's like the love interest for Rena, but that isn't till quite a bit into the story. Because Rena Loki hates him at first. But he's 18 and like just barely graduated. He's just a baby. She's 5'9". She's in a hero group. She's actually not in the hero group at the beginning of the story. That happens a little bit later after Rena ends up joining the hero group. The power that he was born with is he can see like anything that's happening in the current moment. Like an example of this is like If he was at a friend's house, he could see whether or not dinner was being made at his house. Basically, just like insane spy. Some physical appearances that he has. He has a mole on his right cheek, and he has his ears pierced. He has two on his right ear, and then one on his left. He probably originally had two on his left, but then one rejected, and that's why he only has one. He smells like honey. Oh my goodness, together they smell like honey and cinnamon. He has a really bad relationship with his dad, but he has a good relationship with his brother, so it's fine. It's He's also unemployed. I don't feel like I said that. He's unemployed, but his dad's rich, so it's fine. Okay, this is Lulu. She has healing powers, and like a little side effect that comes with it is it ends up reversing her own age because it's like healing her as well whenever she uses her power, so it ends up reversing her own age. And so nobody really knows how old she is. She's probably like 200 or something, maybe 100. I don't know. She's old though. She's 5'3". She's the leader of the hero slash vigilante group. She has a job as a nurse. She doesn't use her powers unless she absolutely has to because she doesn't want to revert back into being like an infant child. And so unless somebody's like actually dying and she isn't able to save them with just medicine, then she will use her powers. But if she can save them with her knowledge of medicine and all that stuff, she isn't going to use her powers. She's really good at fighting, and she's also super duper smart because she's been around for forever. Yeah. This is Troy Swift. This is Davian's brother that he has a good relationship with. He's rich and he works for his dad's company. He's like the heir to the company. He's 21 and he's 5'11". He can see the future. So, like the people in the Swift family, they're born with powers based on like time stuff, of like seeing throughout time. So I think they have another brother, maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have another brother. I don't remember the other brother's name though. Who can see the past. Anyways, honestly, most people don't like Troy because he's kind of annoying, but that's okay. That's okay. He's also in the heroes group. They would have kicked him out, but he's useful because he can see the future. Yeah. Okay, this is Stupid Clover. Clover is 22. She's 6'1". She's a boxer. She has super speed, and she smells like peaches. Soup is 23. He's 5 feet tall, so there's a height difference because he's a short king. They're so in love though. He has a soup shop, and he can generate objects, kind of like Momo Yaoyorozu from My Hero Academia. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he smells like cigarettes, and they're both in the hero group, and they're always together. They're literally inseparable to the point that's almost a problem, but it could never be a problem because they're just too cute. They're too cute. I love them so much. Okay, Queen Lavina. This is the last character that I'm going to be talking about until I briefly go into the plot, but I don't really have a ton of time to go into the plot, so just so you know. This is Queen Lavina. She became the queen at the age of 10 because her mom died. Her mom was probably like assassinated, to be honest. She's 24, so she's been ruling for 14 years. She is 5'7" without her heels. She wears heels a lot though. She's a lesbian and she has a gay husband to make the people happy because they don't like lesbians. Yeah, yeah, yeah. At a very young age, her ability to see was exchanged for the ability to use magic. because she wasn't born with her own powers. She didn't get genetically lucky like everybody else. Okay, she's like an okay-ish queen. She doesn't really do much because she was never really taught how to rule because her mother's death was so unexpected. And then there's also a lot of crap that's going on with other rulers, and so like from the past of like they stirred up a whole ton of crap, and so she hasn't really fixed anything, but she also hasn't made anything worse, so it's whatever. Okay, time to get into the plot. It's gonna be really brief. There's only one slide on it, so don't like expect an in-depth explanation on anything. Okay, basically, the plot follows Rena, who leaves her assassin society to become a lawyer. She ends up working at a coffee shop, but that's obviously not paying for law school and housing, so she's broke and homeless. And then she ends up beating Troy, and since he can see the future, that's kind of a big deal. And so obviously they recruit her for the Vigilante Society after bribing her with money. Before that, though, she ended up getting an apartment, but she just has like 12 billion roommates because that's the only thing she can afford. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And so after joining the Vigilante Society, their like main goal is to overthrow the government, like put a new government in place that's better, that's more people based and not just one person based. For like a hot second, Rena is able to balance the Vigilante Society and also law school, but it eventually just gets to too much of like she physically does not have time to sleep. And so she ends up having to drop out of law school, and they eventually end up overthrowing the government. Troy dies in that experience, though. Yeah. Um, Rena and Davian end up falling in love throughout like the story. It's very slow. It's not just a like wham bam, it happens. It's very slow. She hates him at first, and then like it goes into of like oh she tolerates him, and then like oh they're friends, and then she realizes that's something more, and she's like oh no, oh no, oh no, that sort of a thing. Right? They end up getting married and they have twins. Right, but then when their twins are like 13, they end up getting a divorce because throughout those like 13, 14 years, Davian, he had left the Vigilante Society and he wanted Rena to do the same, but she was unwilling to do that because for such a long time she had wanted to bring justice to the world, and since she couldn't become a lawyer, her being in the Vigilante Society was the next best thing. But he was like, I don't want you to be in the Vigilante Society because you're gonna end up dying, just like his brother had. And of course, he was right, and she ends up dying. Woot woot! Grand fun. Yep. And that's basically it. The end, because I said so. Thank you so much for watching. It makes me so happy whenever I see that people viewed my videos. I know it's a little bit silly, but it makes me so, so, so happy. And yeah, it also makes me really happy whenever I see people subscribe or like. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll see you next week. I'll probably just be doing art fight stuff. Who knows? Toodles.